Garba, our very own. We have Lynette Inyamwea. These are really powerful women doing powerful things in the nuclear space and their sectors as well. So it's this panel will bring together accomplished women who are leveraging innovation, advocacy, and leadership to challenge norms, create lasting impact through their experiences. We'll also explore how African women and women in general are championing change in both governance, in science, and economic transformation, and how inclusive policies can further accelerate each and every one of our contributions, not just as women, but as leaders. And this discussion will address the role of women in driving innovation for sustainable development. It will explore challenges and opportunities in how we can integrate gender perspectives into Africa's nuclear and the energy landscape, and as well as strategies for promoting more inclusive and equitable leadership across critical sectors. Now, I am very honored and I'd like to introduce our panelists in no particular order. I'll just give a brief bio of our panelists, our powerful women, like I stated earlier. We have Linda. I do not want to murder the surname again, forgive me. I probably will learn to pronounce it properly after this. Linda is a seasoned professional in branding and strategic communication. She specializes in repositioning nuclear technology in Africa to enhance women's participation and leadership in the sector. She is dedicated to exploring innovative approaches that empower women to assert their roles effectively within the nuclear sector. She is also a Pan-African coordinator. She navigates challenges in building a unified narrative around women's inclusion in innovation-driven sector, focusing on solutions that promote collaboration and amplify not just women's voices, but diverse voices. She believes in the power of storytelling to reshape perception and inspire the next generation of African women to women leaders in nuclear and energy spaces. Our very own Kezia Garba is a trailblazer in gender advocacy, in male-dominated fields such as nuclear technology. She addresses systemic barriers and cultural shifts needed to advance women's inclusion and leadership in the sector. Through her work on the Women in Nuclear podcast, another platform, Kezia advocates for tangible policy reforms that support women's career progression over time, as well as organizational change. She emphasizes intersectionality in her approach, recognizing the diverse sectors that influence women's experience in nuclear and energy spaces, including their age, their education, and socioeconomic background. We also have Lynette. Lynette is a wonderful young leader making significant strides in the nuclear industry. Lynette is a wonderful young leader making significant strides in the nuclear industry. She focuses on breaking barriers for women entering the field. She identifies key hurdles young women faces and advocates for policies and programs that promote inclusivity and capacity building opportunities in nuclear science and technology across Africa. Lynette is particularly passionate about Kenya's energy innovation agenda, and she sees nuclear energy as a transformative force in the country's development landscape. She envisions a pivotal role for women in driving this agenda forward through leadership and innovation. Now, while we wait on others to join, we know that I may not have done enough justice to this introduction as regards, the positions these women hold and everything they have done to promote inclusion in their various fields. But I thought to give us a feel of the kind of women, quote and unquote, the kind of powerful women we have among us today. So we'll just take a break from this. Yes, please. I like the energy in the room. So please, we can just use the clap emoji rather to welcome them. I have energy stuck in my head. So we give time for others to join in, but I'm sorry, my screen. Okay, yes. Yeah, so we'll just give Would give a few minutes as well for others to join in, but these are the wonderful women we have in our midst today. And this is just a brief overview of why we wanted to host this webinar for everyone. Thank you very much. I'll be back.
Thank you so much, Regina. That was an amazing introduction, and I'm pretty sure everybody's feeling fired already, excited to dive into the conversation. So as a matter of principle, we usually would just give at most 15 minutes before we join, for people to remember that they want to join this webinar, and before we go into the conversation properly. So we have barely 4 minutes, and then we've even use this to give an introduction. So while we wait, before we start properly, please use the chat box, the chat, to drop any messages you would want us to attend to, or raise your hand and I will draw the moderator's attention to it if need be, at any point in time during the conversation. Welcome again, and thank you all for taking our time to join us this evening. We're looking forward to an exciting and illuminating conversation. Please stay through to the end. Welcome. Hi, Alachi.
Hello, everyone. Oh, hi. Who pronounced my surname so perfectly?
Ruth. Me.
Oh, hi, Ruth.
Hi. So please, before we proceed, I did not seek your permission before recording, but as standard practice, we always record this. So we make it available on our various platforms. We have a YouTube page as well. We also have a podcast in collaboration with the Women in Nuclear. So the recording from this would be available to be posted there. So this call is being recorded. Thank you for educational purposes. Thank you. So Regina, please, I think we're good to start.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining in. If you're just joining in, my name is Alachi Upibo Regina. I'm a child rights advocate, a gender and development professional, and the gender lead for Nuclear Aware Africa. And with me on the call today, we have really amazing people joining us, but we have some set of wonderful women in the room who are serving as our panelists today. We have Linda M. Amawoye, we have Lynette Nyamweva, and we have Kezia Garba. Now, once this panelists are, can you hear me? I think I was cut off for a bit.
Clearly, I can hear you.
Well, thank you so much. So I had given a brief introduction of our panelists today. I'm sure they'll do better justice in introducing themselves. So in no particular order, before I start, I gave a session overview. So the reason why we're hosting this important webinar is because we know that women inclusion in any sector is important, as women are an important part and factor when it comes to driving a successful economy across board. However, there are systemic barriers, gender disparities, and issues that limit women, especially when it comes to their access to resources. And it also in turn hinders their full participation and leadership. As Nuclear Aware Africa, as an organization that we are, aimed at promoting, of course, nuclear energy and the peaceful application of nuclear across Africa and across the globe, we play a very important role in advancing women's inclusion in nuclear. And we cannot do it alone. Empower people, empower other people. So how do we do this? By empowering other women and also building on the agency of men. In no particular order, like I said, I'm going to be starting with Linda M. Amawoye. She's a branding and strategic communication expert, and she's a Pan-African coordinator. So Linda, before I ask you your question, could you please just give the house a brief yet powerful introduction of yourself?
Thank you, Alachi. Is that right?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And I wouldn't hold you to it for getting my surname wrong. I get
You're
it all
the
the
best.
time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Linda Megbenya Amewonye, and I am glad to be with you all for this exciting conversation. I am a brands and communications strategist, and I'm also the Pan-African coordinator for the International Young Christian Workers, a youth organization that is for the education of young people, especially young workers, and then through action and then making our demands for a dignified life. So as a brief introduction, yes, I also work in the nuclear industry. I work for Nuclear Power Ghana as a communications officer. Yeah, so that is it by way of brief introduction.
You have such an exciting portfolio, and I think the lifeline of every organization is their branding. So I'm sure you do a lot around the work that you do. Now, we're very curious, I'm sure everyone on the call is, as a Pan-African coordinator, I'm sure it's such a huge responsibility, and I'm sure you carry it so well. What are some of the key challenges that you have observed in building a unified narrative around, women's inclusion in innovation-driven sectors, and how can they be addressed?
Well, thank you so much for the question. So in my role as the PANAF coordinator, it is obvious in Africa, we find ourselves in a highly patriarchal continent. And so the number one challenge for us, or for me in my role, is the social and the cultural biases that we face. We are in a community or a society where the community believes that certain fields, certain areas should be left for the men. Certain disciplines are male dominated. We are in a society where even as a woman, when you try to push yourself to enter into limits, to enter into places where you believe that your potentials can take you, the society will try to discourage you. Society will try to draw you back and try to put a narrative into your head that this is where we find ourselves, try to put you in a certain box that this is who you are, and you would have to accept it, that certain fields are not yours. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges we face is the social and the cultural biases. And then I think another challenge I would talk about is the data gaps and the visibility. Because I believe that, for example, in the nuclear industry, there are a lot of women leading innovation. There are a lot of women doing amazing things. But then if I ask, especially us on this call, to mention, aside from the people that we know or have been introduced here, to mention maybe 2-3 women in Africa leading innovatively in the nuclear industry, I'm sure that will be found wanting. So the data on what women are doing in the industry is not there. The visibility is not there. We are not showcasing what women are doing in the industry enough. So that is a gap. And definitely, if you do not have data or you are not being made visible enough, it will obviously lead to other challenges like limited funding or support for initiatives that you want to do. So I think that's to solve these issues, it has to start with ourselves. We have had these discussions several times. It is not the first time. 2025 is not the first year of celebrating International Women's Day. So the discussion has started long ago, but what has been done? What have we achieved? What do we need to do? What haven't we done right? What do we need to do? We know the problem. If we are talking about social and cultural biases, what do we as people have to do? I for one, believe that it starts with us. It starts with the individual. It starts with changing our mindset of limiting, especially young women, limiting girls to certain roles. And it's interesting that we do these things in our homes, and maybe knowingly or unknowingly, we do not even realize it. I'm sure all of us on this call can attest to the fact that even in our homes, we have parents who would have a child who want to do something, and the parents would be like, "You are a girl, why do you want to do this? Girls do not play these kind of games." So we are pushing a certain narrative in the minds of young girls, and that has to change. That change does not start from anyone. It does not start from anywhere outside of the home or outside from ourselves. It has to start with us. So we need to change our mindset, and we need to make the stories of women, of people leading innovations, people doing amazing things, especially in the nuclear industry. We need to let it be known. We need to, visibilize all of these stories. We make the data available so that someone can see it, someone can listen to it, someone can read it and be motivated. And also, obviously, we need to make dedicated funded support available for women-led initiatives. There are lots of women. I'm sure there are women here amongst us who are leading advocacy campaigns, who are leading several other campaigns and initiatives to push the agenda for women, but we would not attest to the fact that getting the needed support is even a problem. I don't know for Nuclear Aware Africa, but I'm sure even with this event, you probably had some funding, challenges. So we need to dedicate funding and support for initiatives, geared towards promoting women, geared towards pushing the stories of women, geared towards bringing up the girl child to be able to understand her value, to be able to understand who she is, and to take her space in the community, in the society, in the country, in her continents, and in the world at large, especially in the nuclear industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. This is very well put. I like the fact where you said that accurate data is missing as to what women are doing and how it's not amplified. Sadly, once something is not talked about enough, just like once the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So this is very well said. Thank you so much. And then you spoke about unconscious biases that we carry with us growing up, and it starts from the home sometimes, and society tells you what you can or cannot do as a woman. And now, Lynette, congratulations, firstly, on your election as the president of the KYGN. It's such an amazing feat. We're proud of you. We are inspired by you, and we want to say congratulations again, Her Excellency Ma. So I have a very interesting question for you, but before you proceed, I know I had done a brief introduction for you earlier on, but for the sake of those joining the call, if you could briefly introduce yourself on the call. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Lynette Nyamweya. I am from Kenya, number one, and I'm the current president of the Kenyan Young Generation in Nuclear. It is an organization that is dedicated to promoting the safe, secure, and peaceful use of nuclear technology in Kenya. At the same time, I'm a scientist at the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. I'm also a certified nuclear security professional by the World Institute of Nuclear Security. And in terms of education, I have a background in chemistry and a master's in nuclear science and technology. I'm deeply passionate about mentoring the next generation in STEM. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lynette. You have such a profound, wonderful portfolio. I hope that you'd be able to do this in, say, 3 minutes. As a young leader in the nuclear space, and as the current president of KYGN, right? What are the biggest hurdles young women face in breaking into the industry? I'm sure you had like certain challenges when you were running your campaigns for elections and all. And what policies or programs can bridge this gap?
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to say that empowering women in nuclear is not about just fairness. It is critical for Africa's progress. So the biggest hurdles as a young woman trying to break into this industry, firstly, it's the gender stereotypes and bias in the industry, whereby the nuclear sector has long been male-dominated, and with the perception that engineering, physics, nuclear science, and the other fields are not for women. So these persistent cultural stereotypes discourage women from pursuing careers in nuclear energy, and those who do that, they often face they often have to work very hard to prove their technical expertise. This bias also extends beyond recruitment, and it also affects promotion opportunities and it limits access to leadership roles. Secondly, we have a lack of representation, mentorship, and networking, whereby we lack visible female role models in nuclear science. There are very few women in leadership positions, and this makes young professionals struggle to find mentors who can guide their careers and offer professional support. Secondly, in terms of networking opportunities, which are very crucial for career development, we find out that they are definitely male-dominated, and this makes it difficult for women to gain visibility and recognition in the industry. We also have a hurdle called work-life balance challenges. Myself, I'm married and have kids, and I'm so grateful that my husband joined in this session today. So thank you so much for coming. So in this industry, nuclear industry demands long hours of work, frequent travels, and this makes it difficult for women, especially those who want to balance career growth and also the family responsibilities. So with this, we realize that there is no adequate institutional support for that. And also there is the lack of family-friendly policies, whereby there is no flexi work hours and schedules, especially maternity, and this disproportionately affects women's career progression. So there is also another overlooked challenge here in this industry, whereby there is lack of solidarity among women in the industry. The gender bias from men is really well documented, but some women fail to support or uplift their female colleagues, and this creates unnecessary competition rather than fostering a collaborative environment. So in terms of policies and programs to bridge the gaps that I've identified, we should be having gender inclusive education initiatives, that is the STEM outreach programs, and for the Kenya Young Generation in Nuclear, that is what we are doing. And this should start from an early age to help bridge the gender gap before it even begins. And also we can have scholarships and fellowships, whereby we expand financial support for women pursuing nuclear engineering, physics, and also policy studies. And these will lead to increased female representation in the technical fields. We also have mentorship and leadership development for women, and we already have the women-focused mentorship programs through the Women in Nuclear, especially women in nuclear chapters in Africa, in our various countries like in Kenya. There is also the African Young Generation in Nuclear, where the Kenyan Young Generation in Nuclear stems out from, and also other global institutions like the IEA, which should expand mentorship efforts, which connect young women with experienced professionals for career guidance and supports. There is also need to have workplace inclusivity and support policies, whereby there should be maternity-friendly policies and research environments that can make nuclear careers more sustainable for women. At the same time, there should be gender-inclusive hiring policies. And lastly, I will advocate for public-private partnerships for women advancement. This is whereby we should be having collaborative gender-responsive programs through our governments, academic institutions, and even private companies to work together to be able to design and implement policies that support women in nuclear science and in engineering as well. We also need to have innovative hubs and women-led nuclear startups. These will create platforms that support women-driven research and also entrepreneurship that can drive innovation in nuclear applications for, let's say, healthcare, agriculture, industry, and even in nuclear energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Those are really insightful policies and proposed programs that can, help bridge the gap when it comes to lack of women's inclusion in a critical sector as nuclear. That was so profound. Now, Keziah Garba. Keziah, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, thank you. So we know that you are a founder, or rather a co-founder of the Women in Nuclear podcast. And aside being an academia yourself, you're someone with such extensive range of, research, advocacy work. You've been in a couple of fellowships, and you're really doing great work, right? I have another interesting question for you, but for the sake of those who are just joining in, a brief introduction would suffice before I proceed. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Keziah Garba. I am a nuclear engineer in training. I'm doing my master's in nuclear engineering with a specialty in nuclear reactor operation and safety in Europe. I had a
graduate internship when I was in Nigeria at the Center for Energy Research and Training, which is the only research reactor that we have in Nigeria. And I was in the health physics and radiation biophysics section, where we help to ensure radiation protection of the research reactor and radiation monitoring for workers that are exposed to radiation. I've had the opportunity to participate in some fellowships related to bridging the gender gap in the nuclear industry, and also initiatives by the Nuclear Energy Agency and the IAEA that support women and help to build capacities. That's a brief about me.
Thank you so much, Keziah. An amazing portfolio you have there. Powerful woman indeed. So now, in your gender advocacy in a male-dominated field like nuclear technology, right? And as a nuclear engineer in training, it requires both systemic change and cultural shift. Now, what is the most pressing gender-related barrier in this sector, and how can they be dismantled?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. So I like to see the major barriers that we have in the industry from two different lenses. Coming from Africa, a continent that has a budding nuclear sector. We're still trying to build reactors and still at the planning stages of, establishing working sectors that produce energy and leverage on the important uses and applications of nuclear energy. So, and I'll also approach it from the global perspective, where that's considering sectors that are already advanced. So in Africa, I'd like to see the major barriers we have as stemming from unequal education access. So it's unfortunate that in Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, we have the rest of the world decreasing their out of school girl children numbers, but it's the opposite in Africa. We have more girls that are out of school. And if we look at the numbers, statistics show that girls do not have the same opportunity access to go to school as much as boys. And this is not just a problem for education, it's a problem of the workforce. If you have less girls going to school, you have less potential nuclear engineers, less potential scientists, less potential professionals in the future. So this is where the major problem comes from for Africa. So I think it's important for the country to invest in girls' education. They should work around policies that encourage education access for women. They should tailor it, because just like the previous panelists have mentioned, this is a more deep-seated issue than gender. There are also sociocultural and cultural problems. They see an investment in a girl child as not very rewarding. A boy is seen as the breadwinner, as someone who, because education is expensive. When you spend on the boy, you buy the textbooks, you send him to the best schools, he's going to yield, he's going to become that engineer, that masculine picture that has been given to a profession like nuclear. You feel like it's going to be more rewarding for a boy. But we need to change the narrative, because it's not true. We have women who are doing very well in the field, and we need to amplify their voices to serve as role models and as pictures for the women that we hope to educate. Now, in the other parts of the world where education for women is not really a problem, we have seen that educating women does not necessarily translate to women getting jobs or women entering the industry. And there are problems to it, because many women bear the responsibility of the home. Many women, they're usually the backbone of the home, of the family. They bear children, and in their workplaces, they are not very friendly or flexible policies that allow them to grow in their career while having these responsibilities at home. So women are sort of limited in a way because they have to be so many things at a time: a mom, a wife, a home builder. They have to be this excellent engineer. They have to be leaders. But it's unfortunate that there are many lacking support systems there. So, and also based on some conversations I've had with women, they also talk about some problems like there's a pay gap. Problems like a pay gap. Those are barriers. When women learn about, statistics like this, they hear that men are paid better than women. It's not very encouraging because they begin to find emptiness within them. It begins to validate or invalidate their abilities. Okay, maybe it's because a man is actually better than me. That's why he's paid more. So it's not a very encouraging situation to have, where there are still policies that don't actively support women. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much, Keziah. You're very correct. There are lots of policies in place that do not support women in any way. And then the issue of pay gap is a real thing because some people ask very stupid questions like, why does a woman deserve more pay? Like, what does a woman do with money? I've had someone ask that kind of question before. So it goes a long way to show that some of these things are already built deep within systems and they are systemic in nature. So Linda, from a branding and strategic communication perspective, how do you think that we can reposition nuclear technology in Africa to encourage more women participation and leadership in the sector? And how can women reposition themselves to increase their participation and leadership in nuclear sector? So it's not enough that the technology encourages, more women participation. How can the technology do that? How can the sector as a whole do that? And how can women themselves reposition themselves to increase their participation and leadership in nuclear security in an industry in general? So would appreciate if you can do this within the span of, say, 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will try and do this in 2 to 3 minutes. All right, so talking about how we can reposition nuclear technology so women can take advantage. I think that it would have to do, or it has to do with making STEM attractive, STEM education attractive to our young girls, encouraging more young people to take up courses in STEM. And I believe this would even be more effective if we do this from the early childhood days, because that is where kids develop interest. I'm sure all of us on this call, while we were kids, had different ambitions because of what we knew, because of what we saw. Some of us initially wanted to be soldiers, some of us wanted to be pilots because we knew about it, we could see it, we heard about it, and we had an interest. So I think that we should reposition the technology through education to encourage more children, especially young girls, to be able to take up studies in the discipline. And to answer the question on how women can position themselves to increase their participation and also leadership, I think there are 2 words that describes everything that we have to do to achieve this, and that is personal branding. I am very particular about this because it is what I do, and personal branding has everything. So I'll try to break it down within my time. We talk about expertise building. You cannot be fit, or you do not expect to take up a certain role, a certain position, if you are not well prepared for it. And then I think my issue most often when I am working with women, or when I have to go out there, speak to young women is, how prepared are you for the opportunity that you envisage? How ready are you? Do you have the needed qualification? Have you taken courses to sharpen your skills? The world is revolving. I mean, technology is taking over. Do you have any skills in IT? Do you have any skills that best positions you for a leadership role should opportunity come here? It is high time we stop waiting, waiting behind the narrative. Oh, we are not being made to take up roles. We need to prepare for it. I think it puts you in a better or higher position to take up a role if you are prepared for it before it comes, rather than you waiting the opportunity comes and then you're, oh, I need to do this, I need to take up, these are the requirements. No. So developing expertise is key in positioning women for leadership roles, and also increasing their participation in the industry. And then I would also like to talk about leveraging digital media in branding yourself. Today, we are so fortunate. We have the media, we have social media that we can use. We have LinkedIn you can use to professionally, market yourself. What do you do? What are your skill sets? Let somebody know you for something. Be known to be best at something. You are a nuclear engineer. Nobody knows about you. What have you done? What studies have you taken? What knowledge do you wield? Leverage digital media and market yourself. And then I would also talk about networking. This is very important because networking opens you to, meeting people, getting in contact with people. There's probably someone who needs a certain skill set you have somewhere. As women, we should be able to go out there and network. I know sometimes it gets a bit difficult for us because some of us fear labeling. Oh, this person is like this. She likes to talk to everybody. She goes for events and she likes to talk to everybody. She likes to speak to men. You can be tagged. There can be stereotypes around it, but you know what you are doing. Network, make the contacts, put yourself out there. There are 2 or 3 people outside of your circle who knows what you are good at. When there is an opportunity that requires your skills, I am sure you will come to mind. They would remember you. They will remember, I met this person here. I needed this person. I need this person to do this for me. So networking. And then also, I like what Keziah is doing. Engage in advocacy within the industry. What do you stand for in the industry? Do you stand for pushing more women into leadership roles? Do you stand for STEM education? Do you stand for improving young people's participation? What do you stand for in that? Be known for something within the industry. And then I'm sure all of this, if you brand yourself well, I don't think that any opportunity can bypass you. Once you qualify for it or you fit for it, you would get it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda, for speaking on the importance of branding. Like I said earlier, the powerhouse of any organization, or in this case of an individual, is his or her brand, what they are known for, what he or she is known for. Thank you so much for speaking to that. And the fact that you have to speak and amplify the work that you do, put yourself out there and, speak your truth, like you say. So Lynette, you had spoken to the question I'm going to ask you now when you spoke about policies or programs that, institutions, organizations can create to better provide opportunities for women. So in a minute, could you, or in 2, yes, could you, list some of the other ways African governments or institutions can create more mentorship and capacity building opportunities for young women in nuclear science and technology?
Yes, so for sure, African governments and institutions will play a role in fostering mentorship, capacity building, and career development opportunities for women in nuclear science and technology. So firstly, they can be able to establish regional training hubs, which I can see coming up lately, whereby they are hands-on learning centers for nuclear research and even radiation safety training. There's the postgraduate education in radiation protection, which was being done in Ghana initially, and I realized we also have the program here in Kenya. So that's a great way to be able to ensure that women are also included. We also have working with institutions like the IEA, the WINS, AFCON, to fund exchange programs, and such exchange programs like the PJEC program, which will also advance training initiatives and also strengthen the women-led nuclear networks, such as the Women in Nuclear, definitely, women, AYGN, and any other organization that is, even Nuclear Aware Africa, actually, where we are right now. These will help in facilitating also peer-to-peer mentoring groups where women can share experiences, share knowledge, and even have professional guidance. And there's also a thing of sponsoring and also having international fellowships. So if we increase STEM scholarships and fellowships, specifically for women pursuing nuclear science and engineering, and also fund these international exchange programs, we'll be able to ensure that women are inclusively included in these initiatives, as well as hosting nuclear science bootcamps and leadership summits. This is something I feel like, if done correctly, we'll be able to enhance our practical skills in nuclear applications. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much for that wonderful, yet brief and insightful ways capacity can be built and opportunities created for young women. Keziah, we know that you do a lot of work around awareness, especially with your work in the Women in Nuclear podcast and your other engagements. Now, how have you seen gender advocacy translate into tangible policies or institutional reforms? And if you've not seen those, what best practices do you think can be replicated across the continent?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. So, honestly, I think gender advocacy is a very important tool that we can use to address this issue of the gender gap in the nuclear sector. And I've seen it materialize. I've seen it materialize into results in organizations. I'm a beneficiary of opportunities simply because I'm a woman. And this is not in a negative sense. It's in the sense that I am recognized for who I am, for what I bring to the table, and for the narrative that if I am empowered, I will empower others. That's the narrative I get. So I've seen organizations change their support towards women. It's very common in many organizations, and I hear women talk about it, that they prefer to send men towards capacity building workshops. There are many workshops in the nuclear industry because it's a very technical field. So they can send you to another country to go and learn some skills or to learn some new things, and they prefer to send men most times. Sometimes they try to hide under the umbrella that, okay, a woman has responsibilities to take care of at home, so it's better we just send a man. But no, how would a woman have the same qualification, or how would she have the same skills or expertise as a man if that keeps happening? So one thing I've seen is that the more women talk, the more we talk about these issues, the more we raise them up through our podcasts, through our initiatives, we see organizations adjusting. Okay, now they're paying attention to women. They're not just it's an old story. It has been going on like this for a long time. Let it keep going. No, they are adjusting. They are more sensitive to the issue. So I'd say keep talking, keep doing more talking. I've also seen in workshops and conferences that I attend, I see where I see where women get attention. They get attention. Maybe they're trying to secure a scholarship, but their voice is not amplified enough, or maybe they don't have the resources or the tools to on how to get there. You talk to a person or two and they connect you, and then you are able to do things easier than you would have had you not had the support. So I think it's a very important tool that is helping in many ways. And also the final way I've seen it materialize is that we have more male allies. So this is proof that gender advocacy is not something that is like toxic feminism. We're not saying we're more powerful than men, or we're championing for a cause that affects everybody, both men and women. We need more professionals, we need a more diverse skill set, and we know that women can help with that. So we've seen men help also to champion this cause together. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Keziah. This is a really profound, issues you mentioned, and the ways in which best practices can be replicated across the continent. It's important that the voices of women are heard, and not just heard. It's important that everything that is discussed translates over time into actionable strategies. Now, Linda, I'll come back to you. We know how storytelling has the power to shape narrative. It can either make or mar a certain narrative, and it is really instrumental. We see it play out in films, we see it play out in music, in different forms of media kind of advocacy, and then of course, entertainment as well. So how do you think storytelling plays, we know rather that storytelling plays a pivotal role in changing perception and cultural norms. So what strategies can we use to amplify the stories of African women leading in nuclear and energy spaces to inspire the next generation? What can we do? And how can we do it? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alachi. So I would want to discuss these strategies as questions, because more often than not, the strategies we know, but translating those strategies into actions and getting the real results is the problem. So I would want to ask, can we have dedicated digital storytelling platforms like what Keziah is doing? Thumbs up to you, amazing. Can we create dedicated digital storytelling platforms to tell the stories of women in the nuclear industry, to encourage others, to motivate others through this? I think yes, we can. So let us get more dedicated storytelling platforms. We could do podcasts, we could do YouTube series, and I mean, like I said earlier, we are in a digital age. We have lots of social media platforms out there that makes it even more cost effective for us to do these things. So let's get dedicated digital storytelling platforms. The second thing, the second strategy that I want to talk about, also I want to talk about it like a question. Can we partner with traditional media, international media, and get broadcast, get documentary features of what women are doing in the nuclear industry? Yes, we can. So we can partner with mainstream media, have documentary features, on our media, both at national levels, international levels, local levels. Let us tell the story through the media. There are so many people on you can reach via social media. There are so many people you can reach via mainstream media. Let us partner with these media, and then let us tell our story let us be visible through the media. And then the third strategy I would talk about again is, can we introduce our children to, the nuclear technology? Can we tell our children about STEM? Can we tell about our children about the fact that if you study science, you are not just going to become a doctor or a lawyer? So let me share a story. When I finished my basic education examination, I had very good grades, and everyone was expecting that I would go read science. I did not read science in the secondary school. And it was for a funny reason. This was because I could not deal with blood. And all I knew was that when I studied science, I would either have to become a doctor or become a nurse. And I was not ready to do that. So I had to go read general arts, which obviously I am happy I read, and I'm utilizing it very well. But then I came to understand the STEM education today, and I wished that I had studied science. If probably I had someone talk to me about STEM and let me understand that it is not just about becoming a doctor or becoming a nurse or working in the hospital. You could become an engineer, you could become a physicist, you could become, any of those other related professions in the STEM, in STEM. I would have studied science. So let us take the education to our children. Let us, create child-friendly literature about, stories of African women, and take it to them. Let us inspire them. Like I said earlier, when children are together discussing this is where they develop their interest. So let us take it to them at that age. Let's not wait for them to get to the second cycle institutions, and then that is when they are hearing of STEM. That is when they are hearing of other things they can do as women in science. Let us take the narrative to them. Let's tell the stories to our children from, get-go, so that we can get more participation of young women in the industry. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. There's just so much to unpack from everything you said. But thank you so much. This is really, really good. I'm really blown, and it just gives us a lot of things to, like I said, unpack and think of. Back to you, Lynette. So Kenya, we know, has been at the forefront of energy innovation in Africa. How do you see nuclear energy fitting into Kenya's broader development agenda? And what roles do you think women can play in driving this transformation, especially now in your role as the president of KYGN?
Okay, so in terms of nuclear energy in Kenya's development agenda, firstly, Kenya's commitment to nuclear energy development was a strategic move that aligns it to it's part of one of the agenda to achieve our Vision 2030, which was emphasizing industrialization, energy security, and also economic growth. So as our country seeks to diversify our energy mix, which is normally which has existing renewable energy sources such as geothermal, hydro, and solar, there is also demand for reliable and affordable electricity. So for nuclear power, it presents a sustainable and dependable option that can complement all that. And also, to transition to nuclear energy, it not only bridges the energy access gap, but also strengthens our industrialization by providing a consistent and large-scale supply of energy. So, and also in terms of our development agenda, nuclear energy aligns with Kenya's commitment to the United Nations SDG goals, particularly SDG 7, which is the affordable and clean energy, SDG 13 for climate action, by offering a low carbon alternative for fossil fuels. So beyond the domestic benefits, establishing a peaceful nuclear energy program positions Kenya as a leader in advanced technology, and this opens avenues for regional energy cooperation and economic diplomacy. So these strategic investments not only enhances Kenya's energy security, but also strengthens our role in the global nuclear landscape. So when it comes to roles of women in driving nuclear transformation, in policy and decision-making spaces, Kenyan women should actively engage in shaping Kenya's nuclear strategy. This will ensure that the gender considerations are integrated in our energy policies early enough before we even start this particular program. There is also, in terms of education and outreach, women can play a transformative role by advocating for nuclear science at the grassroots level. Women are also good people when it comes to public awareness, because people tend to, not really people, but everybody else tend to believe what their mothers say and what their mothers believe. So public awareness is crucial for the acceptance of nuclear energy in Kenya, and women can really help in demystifying nuclear and educating communities on the benefits of nuclear. So through STEM mentorship programs, women are able to inspire young girls to pursue careers in nuclear science and ensure a diverse and inclusive generation of nuclear professionals. And also beyond nuclear advocacy, women in nuclear entrepreneurship can drive innovation by developing nuclear-based solutions for the other nuclear applications, which we have, such as healthcare, agriculture, and even industry. So by leading startups and research initiatives focused on nuclear applications, women can create economic opportunities and contribute to the sector's growth and sustainability. So this will lead to encouraging more females to participate in nuclear-related supply chain and energy services, and this leads to an inclusive economic development that ensures that women benefit from the opportunities presented by the nuclear industry. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lynette. That was really impactful and insightful. And truly, sometimes we are truly our mother's daughters, because the first training you get as a woman or as an individual is usually from the home, and most of the times it's from your mother. And some of these societal norms are deeply entrenched, and we are told what to do, what not to do, how to act, and what not to do. Another thing we must also realize is that women are gatekeepers, and when they are leveraged well, especially those who we think that are not technology savvy, the old woman in the village and all, once they have a better idea, even in their local dialect, as to how to translate this information to their own children, it can better help. So I like everything you said and the points you made. So lastly, to wrap up, we have Keziah. Over to you. What roles does intersectionality play in the conversation about women's inclusion in nuclear and energy spaces, especially considering that factors like, age exist, even with scholarships? Then we have education, and then there's also the issue of socioeconomic background.
Okay, so it's a very common question I get, particularly because I focus on the gender aspect of intersectionality. It's a very common question I get, that so why diversity? What role does it play? Why is it important? To simply put, if I'm talking to friends, I say diversity is the spice of life, and it's true. And it's not just about non-corporate things. There are statistics that support the fact that gender diverse environments do better. They outperform environments where you have one gender dominating the other. Now, in terms of intersectionality, we don't just look at gender diversity. We look at diversity from a more microscopic level. So we have different women, and we have among these women, we have different races, we have different cultures, different tribes, we have different educational backgrounds. We have some who went to elite schools and others who went to average schools. But the thing about intersectionality is that it allows these different people who have had very different backgrounds to come into a space and to bring about solutions that enhance the organization's mandate. So we have people who have different perspectives because of their different backgrounds. That's how I like to look at it. So, but another thing I like to highlight is that organizations who are maybe employing based on diversity, equity, inclusion, intersectionality, they need to be very skilled so that they do not diminish the very cause for which they are recruiting. So you don't just recruit based on the difference or the diversity. You also recruit for skills. This is why we need people, women who are skilled, and at the same time, they have very unique perspectives based on their unique backgrounds. So I think it's a very important role that intersectionality plays. Very, very important, because diversity is truly the spice of life. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Keziah. Thank you. Diversity is indeed the spice of life. Please, guys, at this juncture or junction, whichever, I would beg or crave your indulgence. So please, your clap emoji for all our wonderful panelists, for Linda, for Keziah, for Lynette. Please. There's just so much to unpack. I'm super, super proud. I was just grinning from ear to ear because truly women are doing the work. And it's good to see that an organization like Nuclear Aware Africa as well is pushing for women inclusion in this space. So while we applaud our panelists, I'd like to also crave your indulgence to please celebrate the organization that is Nuclear Aware Africa. Thank you guys for that. So at this point, if you have any questions, you have any comments, would like to leave roughly a space of 5 minutes for us to ask our questions and get the answers. Or if you feel that you can ask your questions later, you can always reach out to us and then would feedback to our panelists and they'll get in touch with you. Or you can connect with them via their socials as well. Also, please, we are on LinkedIn as Nuclear Aware Africa. We're on Instagram as Nuclear Aware Africa. We are on Twitter as Nuclear Aware Africa. And as regards to building capacity and empowering people, we have the opportunities for nuclear and disarmament on LinkedIn. So there we post opportunities in the nuclear sector and space. Please recommend that page to your friends, to your colleagues, to the women you have in your life, and they can also recommend to other women. It's a chain reaction, and it takes a nation, really. So it's not just the one person's responsibility to empower other people. It is all our responsibility. It's a collective action, because empower people, empower other people. And like we'd say during the medieval projects, we'd say the world needs women. Sorry, the world needs women, nuclear needs women, and therefore nuclear needs us. So yeah, thank you all so much again to our wonderful panelists. So we have Keziah. Yes, your hands are up.
Yes, so I'd just like to extend my appreciation to Nuclear Aware Africa. I mean, not many organizations take it upon themselves to discuss this kind of topics. And personally, some of the biggest supporters I've had in my life and in my career are men. Like the largest percentage of them are men, not women. So when talking about the gender conversation, like I said, it's not some feminist, some toxic feminist movement. No, it's about seeing the need for the need and then filling the gap to solve the problem. And so Nuclear Aware has some of the most supportive men in management, and I just want to extend the appreciation and to also say to the men who are here to continue to support the women in your lives. Yes, and women also, you can, when you're advocating about gender, don't just channel it to the women. Talk to the men too. Involve them in the conversation, and we're going to have a more sustainable and a more effective change that we need.
Thank you, Keziah.
Thank
Thank you. So we have a question from Eugene Kwake. I think some of these questions were addressed earlier, but he's saying, what are some of the key roles women play in nuclear industry today? He's also asking what the biggest challenges women face in the industry and how these challenges can be addressed. He was asking, or he is asking rather, if there are any legal framework or policies that specifically promotes gender equality in the industry, in the nuclear power industry. So since there are 3 questions, our panelists, I'd like to indulge us, or crave your indulgence rather. Please, 1 minute each. The first question would be to Lynette. And what are some of the key roles women play in nuclear industry today? Hi, Lynette. Are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank
And
you.
women today are playing major roles in the nuclear industry, as much as we are not yet there. Especially women organizations, let's say the women-led organizations like the Women in Nuclear Global, Women in Nuclear in the specific countries. Women are going out there creating public awareness, mentoring young girls, young boys to be able to join the nuclear industry. Women are also being involved in policies and in creating policies and also implementing several strategies to ensure that we have gender inclusive initiatives in the nuclear industry. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was speaking, but my mic was muted. That was really, really brief and straight to the point. So, Linda, what are some of the biggest challenges women face in the nuclear industry and how can they be addressed? 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that Lynette and Keziah spoke extensively on this. I believe some of the challenges that women face in the in the nuclear industry has to do with the pay gaps, the reservation of certain roles, certain training opportunities for men, because sometimes we feel like this is too technical. It's the discrimination, which obviously stems from our society and from our cultural backgrounds, where we find ourselves, like I said, highly patriarchal, and so we feel like certain disciplines, certain fields are too technical for the woman, and we have carried this to the nuclear industry. So women face pay gaps, women face discrimination. Our society does not help us also in the industry, and all of these need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Keziah, are there any legal frameworks or policies that specifically promote gender equality in the nuclear power industry?
Okay, so it depends on where you are asking about. It depends on country, continent, or organization. Policies are usually organization specific. So as far as I know, international organizations like the IAEA and the Nuclear Energy Agency, they have very good policies that support women. And as at last year, the IAEA, they had a goal to reach a 50-50% of women in leadership position. So they wanted like equal opportunity access for women in leadership, because they noticed a gap where women were not making it up to leadership positions. So they were able to achieve a 48% progress. So they have 48% of women in leadership positions, and this is a function of policies in place that they have. So they have policies in place that support women. Some of these policies even include things about maternity leaves, about child support. Some of these organizations, they have, as part of their policies, they have a child support for women. So women who are new mothers, they even have nurseries in the organization where they can keep their children, they can bring their children to work. And it's a way of helping women not to be slowed down by childbirth, by motherhood, by having a family. And then in Nigeria, for example, in the Nigerian nuclear sector, the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission, I was discussing with the head of the legal department, and she was telling me about her plans to construct a legal document for women, supporting women. So for issues surrounding the challenges we discussed earlier, challenges relating to maternity leaves, relating to the support that they don't have, relating to attracting and retaining women in the sector. Yeah. So I would say in general, there's progress. So organizations are making it official. They are leading by example. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe you all did justice to that question from Eugene. Eugene says, thank you. Thank you to all amazing panelists. It's been such an insightful session, from Lynette speaking to Linda to Keziah. Like I said earlier, I'm only saying like I said earlier, there's just so much to unpack, and there's so much that we learned here, and there are things that we have to, take back with us, sit with it for a minute or two, or even an hour, or hours or days, just because there's so much to pick from it. So once again, thank you so much. Again, I am Regina Alachi. I'll just leave the floor for Ruth to proceed from here. Well, thank you guys. You guys are awesome, and it's nice meeting you all. Thank you all for joining in.
Okay, wow, that was an exciting discussion. Thank you all to our amazing speakers and our delectable moderator for doing justice to this topic. Thank you all for honoring our invitation, taking out time from your busy schedule to be here. And to our listeners, those that joined in, we appreciate your time. And we do this monthly. We get people, speakers, unique fields in the nuclear industry to come up with this interesting and thought-provoking topics. And we have this webinar discussion. So this month, we couldn't just pinpoint one person that would bring on. We have amazing women doing amazing work in the nuclear field. So we decided to just have this panel discussion, and I'm glad that we did. So thank you again, Linda, Lynette, and Keziah for being amazing. And we hope that you keep doing that. So Linda, your hand is up. Please go ahead before I proceed.
Yes, thank you, Ruth. I just wanted to say thank you to the organizers, Nuclear Aware Africa, for this conversation. I think that we need to talk about women more. Like I mentioned earlier in my my submission, that we need to make the voices of women more visible. We need to talk. We need to increase the volume. We need to amplify our voices, put us on that global stage. We need to get there, and kudos to you for organizing this insightful webinar. And I would also like to acknowledge my big brother. I see he joined in late, but he's here he has a very busy schedule. So very sent, I'm glad you're able to make it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for joining Linda's big brother and Lynette's husband. So at Nuclear Aware Africa, we have amazing men supporting us. You've been hearing just us, the women, talking. That's because we have a very strong foundation that holding us up. So we have Chukudi Njoko. I don't know if you would want to just say something, but it's like Keziah said, it's not just about women, supporting women. We speak to men as well, because they're already there, they're already at the top. So we cannot do it without them. So we need them to keep pushing us up and giving us the support that we need. So this was an exciting session, and the recording will be available on our YouTube page and the A Woman in Nuclear podcast, which airs on LinkedIn as well. So please drop, you can follow us. I dropped our handles, LinkedIn, Twitter, and IG, and then the opportunities page. So we are into this nuclear business to make sure that Africa yields everything that we can from our natural resources, which we have in abundance. So please explore the opportunities page on nuclear on LinkedIn and see what you like. Connect with us, reach out to us. Any concerns, any questions? If you want this recording, or you want to be a part of our programs, please reach out to us. We are happy to connect with you. Thank you again to our wonderful speakers and our moderator. So if there's nothing else from anybody, I would like to say thank you and do have a wonderful weekend and Salah celebration to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, everyone. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you,
Bye.
everybody.
Muy bien.